you are serious enough right now about the place that AI has and will continue to have in your creative process. I can tell you right now, if you are thinking too small about that, if you are not understanding yet how much that is going to continue to revolutionize, it is already revolutionizing. That word gets thrown around. That's a very AI word, actually. If you ask AI to write something, it will use words like revolutionize. This product revolutionized the space or whatever. But it's true in this case. AI actually is revolutionizing the way that creative production works for meta ads. The way that I can tell if you are being forward thinking about this enough or not is maybe a little surprising. It is this. If you are still running creative testing campaigns in your meta ads account, then I can just guarantee you, you are not thinking seriously enough about the place that AI is going to have in your meta ads creative production stack. Okay. And that might sound surprising. It might sound like me just sort of being on a hobby horse of mine about creative testing campaigns and manual bids. But I'm telling you right now that you are going to get left behind in the world of meta ads media buying, and probably all media buying everywhere, if you are still allocating actual extra budget dollars to separate creative testing campaigns. And the reason why I know that is because of the way the cost structure of meta advertising works. So the logic of creative testing campaigns for so many people, right, is that you want to allocate some dollars towards towards new meta ads to see how they perform, and then decide after you've allocated those dollars whether or not they are going to work. And many people will frame that as you have to get statistical significance, stat sig, right? You have to get statistical significance on every ad that you run. And when you get stat sig on those ads, then you can determine whether or not you have a winner or a loser and then move it to your scaling campaign. And the thing is, that requires many purchases per ad. Now, there are countless problems with that logic chain that I could go through, but I'm going to leave that for mostly another episode. I don't actually want to sort of revisit that. Probably if you're watching this episode, even if you've made it just this far, you should first of all subscribe to my content, because you're going to like a lot of what I talk about and what I do. So wherever you're watching, listening, make sure to subscribe. But also you should go backwards and look at both of my previous episodes, which will be linked in the show notes, about creative testing campaigns. Okay. And the reason why is because I lay the foundation in those episodes for why I think they're a really bad use of your time and money, okay? And why I think they're actually maybe the biggest cost center in your e-commerce business, bar none. So I have all kinds of problems with this, but I actually want to focus on one really specific thing right now in this episode. And that really specific thing is the fact and the implications of the fact that creative production costs are getting so low. Because right now, if you think about it, right, the idea is you allocate some. Let's make a distinction between creative production and creative distribution, okay? Creative production would be all the costs associated with making an ad, including the humans, the software, picking up a camera, making the edits, all those things, okay? And then distribution would be the cost of running those ads on your meta ads or wherever, Google Ads, Apple Ads, doesn't matter, okay? Anywhere where you distribute the ads to people. So production, distribution, okay? Let's make that distinction. The thing about what AI is doing right now, as many people have pointed out, right, is that the cost of creative production is getting incredibly low, incredibly fast, so that you could make an incredible volume of ads incredibly cheap, okay? Now, the thing is, the distribution cost of running ads then becomes the blocker. And so if you have to take every ad you make, right, and let's just say you make 50 ads in a month. If you have to take every ad you make and allocate spend towards each of those ads, testing whether or not it's hitting stat sig, okay, or something like that, or giving some indication that that ad is going to perform. If you have to allocate budget towards all of that, that's already at 50 ads, a pretty big budget, okay? Let's say you have to get even just 10 purchases on each of those ads. And let's say you want a 2-to-1 ROAS, okay? And at a 2-to-1 ROAS, let's say your AOV is $50. So we're going to make this a fairly simple setup, okay? So that means that you need to get $25. Let's say 10 purchases gets you to stat sig, which it almost certainly doesn't, okay? But that means that you need 10 purchases per ad, okay? And so that's $500 right there, 10 times 50. Okay, 50 ads, 10 purchases each, okay? So there's 500, okay? Now 500 times 25, because we just made your CAC for it to be a performer, $25, okay? So $50 AOV, $25 CAC gets you to a 2-to-1 ROAS, 10 purchases per ad, 50 ads per month. That's $12,500 per month on just that little thing. Now, like I said, almost certainly 10 purchases is not actually enough to be stat sig. Many of these will take less. Many of those will perform under target, and so you'll perform actually worse than that. And 50 ads is really not that many. So very quickly, if we just double that, then you immediately get to 25 grand a month. Okay, now if you're a really big brand, that might not be a big deal. But you can see very quickly, you go to 100 ads. Let's say you need 20 purchases per ad, and then let's say you need 100 ads per month. Now we've doubled it twice more. Now we're at 50 grand a month. And the thing is, it's going to get crazy because here's the problem, okay? The problem is, so first of all, if you're a smaller brand, okay, if you're like sub $100,000 a month in spend, this already, what I have just laid out is already not a viable way to test ads. It means if you have to test every ad, you're basically stuck at testing 10 ads a month, and you're going to be stuck there forever because it's just going to be too expensive. And it's going to take forever to learn anything because you need all these purchases per ad. Like there's all of these problems with that method right away. On top of that, like I said, that's almost certainly not actually stat sig. That's also a $50 AOV, which is relatively low. Plenty of brands are at $80, $100, $150, which means the CAC now has to double. There's just all of these issues with everything I just said to where the cost snowballs fast and it becomes a totally non-viable way because of the distribution costs of testing your ads if you actually have to do that. Again, on top of that, most ads actually don't work. And so they're all going to perform. So a lot of those ads are going to perform under target and they're going to drive up costs more as you spend on those ads on top of whatever amount you paid for production. So the costs start to add up extremely fast here. But forget even that for a second. And instead think about this. What happens when the production costs get so cheap that you can, with an AI ad creator, okay, with an AI ad, with just some tools, you can actually start producing thousands of ads per month for like a couple grand, okay? Like very close to free per ad. Basically, where the production cost gets so cheap that you now have this ability to test countless numbers of ads in your ad account. What happens when you can do that? Well, the first thing that happens is it's a huge win for you as an advertiser as long as you can distribute those ads, because the ability to mass test huge amounts of volume because the production costs are so low creates a gigantic incentive for you to go and run up those production costs. So let me tell you about 2 meetings I have on the books right now, okay? One of them, in about 45 minutes from the time of recording this episode, I'm going to meet with somebody who I'm paying $200, splitting the cost with somebody else, to show me the perpetual ad machine that he has made. I'm not ready to promote it or anything like that. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's good. Maybe someday I'll have him on if it's good or whatever, right? But this guy says he has made a tool where in the background of running ads, he's got a setup to where for a few $100s a month in fees for things like Zapier and OpenAI, ChatGPT and some of those things, right? He is able to make it so that you generate endless still image ads for free, basically, right? So for those software costs only, like it just does all the still image ad generation. Now, I don't know if that's good enough, okay? I don't know if that's actually going to work, but I also know that there is other software out there that's purporting to do the same thing, and it's still pretty early, and that all of this AI image and ad generation and all these things are getting better all the time. So that's a meeting I'm having today. I'm also meeting constantly. I have a client right now who's spending like lots and lots of money selling products based off of an ad generation machine that is absolutely incredible. He's got AI avatars. We've got script being written. We've got videos not totally being stitched together, but uses VO from 11 Labs. Like he's just got all of these tools to make tons and tons of content all the time. And so that is happening right now, okay? So possibly in my very near future, I've got ads being created all the time, basically for free or for close to free. So I can create endless ads. If you want to learn to think the way I am thinking about meta ads, if you like this episode, I know that you are deep in the weeds of media buying. There is one resource that is unparalleled, whether you're an operator, an agency owner, a freelancer, a media buyer somewhere, that will level up your game more than any other. And that is what I consider e-commerce university, what I consider meta ads university, like the place to get it, except it'll maybe have a much higher ROI than your university experience on a pure dollar for dollar basis. And that is Admission from Common Thread Collective. I'm telling you, if you are spending less than 50 grand a month on meta ads right now, or even if you're spending more and you just want the very best information, the most data fact-backed information from the best minds in e-commerce to think about how to run a great, profitable, growing business, and not only a business generally, but also a specifically a manual bid-based meta ads account so you can leverage cost caps, bid caps, all those things to the best way possible. You need to join Admission. There is no other resource like it. Admission is constantly being updated all the time, so it's not just a bunch of outdated e-commerce information. They're constantly adding new videos to work through, new courses to work through. There's also weekly webinars that are exclusive with members of Common Thread Collective's team, including a monthly exclusive webinar with Taylor Holiday. You cannot get access to that information, including some Q&A with Taylor that you cannot get if you're not in Admission. And on top of all that, if you go through my link, you actually get a free audit of your ad account, not an audit, a coaching call with one of CTC's media buyers who are buying with manual bids all the time. So if you're trying to move to the setup that I'm talking about, this is like an incredible resource. These people are buying huge amounts of media for large brands and small brands alike on manual bids, and they will help you take an hour, look through your account, make sure your setup is right. I get DMs about this all the time. I can't help everybody I would like to. I always send them to Admission. It really helps. You actually get a free call. You actually get 4 of those calls for free if you sign up for a year of Admission in advance. It's an unparalleled resource. Follow the link in the description of this episode, the show notes of this episode, to get that coaching call for free. Go join Admission today if you want to level up your game and get serious about getting the best information possible. If more people would join Admission, way less people would DM me about all the money they've lost spending on ads in terrible ways. All right, if you're watching this and not listening to it, you'll see that my shirt has suddenly and magically changed because in the middle of recording that, my 3-year-old and 5-year-old came in the house and started making a bunch of noise. So, so we have picked up the next day where we left off, and that's okay because I know exactly where we are. And that is the second meeting that I'm going to have. I actually just scheduled it in the time between recording the first part of this episode and where I'm recording now. And that is a meeting where I'm going to talk to somebody who has built a tool that can stitch together hooks with bodies of video ads sort of endlessly. So he was giving the example of like 20 hooks and 10 ad bodies that all kind of work together enough. And his video editor, does a bunch of little variations like that. His team creates those, and then he runs them through a machine, and now he has 200 ads. Okay. Now, I believe in concept variations, not just hook variations. I'm thinking more and more about that. But listen, if you can do that to where you can create that much variation in your ad that cheaply, literally you just create those few hooks, create those bodies, and then the machine stitches them together. And if those can actually work, and I believe it's possible that they can, then you're going to have all kinds of opportunity. That's before you even talk about other tools that do the whole thing from start to finish, including analyzing the performance of your past ads and using that information to create, basically, without you even looking at it, new ads. Now, I'm not saying we're necessarily there yet, but we probably will be soon. On top of that, by the way, the tool that I was just talking about that stitches together different parts of video, that tool also has something built into it that publishes those ads extremely fast, because one of the limitations, if you've run meta ads for a while, is that you actually have to go in the ad account and build the ads. Well, there's people increasing. I'm seeing actually multiple versions of this where people are clicking into the API, and like Taylor Holiday has said in CTC at some point, he's going to get to a point at 2025 where no human ever builds an ad, that it will just all be done through an interface that automatically builds via the Facebook Ads API. And you just be able to have the ads built for you just like that, which is to say that would be another barrier to creating a whole bunch of ads that is reduced or eliminated by the continued development of technology around this. And so we could just go on and on here. And this is really the point. Okay. The point is that I'm having meetings constantly right now about the ways to use AI, whether it can sort of fully take over the accounts, or whether it can, even if it can't fully take over the ad generation, if it can make it so much faster and so much cheaper that again, you don't have to be like a full AI super optimist where you believe everything is just going to, just like sort of you click a button and ads just get created forever. Like, you don't have to believe in that world. You don't have to believe in the world where it's that simple, where it all does for you, to still believe in a world where production costs go way down. On top of that, if you layer onto that, working with teams like the one I work with in the Philippines, where I've got great designers and editors who I pay above market rates in the Philippines to work for me, and they bring real expertise, great ads into my ad account, but at a much lower cost than hiring those people in the U.S. Like, so now I'm just talking about extending your resources via offshoring. Okay, if we do that, like I do that right with Behind the Scenes Studio. They are in their sister company sponsor this show, but like, you know, you've heard me talk about this a lot, right? btsstudio.com. You can go check them out yourself. They're awesome. They didn't even pay for that reference of somewhere else in this episode. I've got some other actual ad, but like BTS Studio, right? They are on top of that, and they are actually building into their tool set at BTS. I have conversations all the time with their CEO, where I'm looping her into all of these meetings that I'm taking, including the ones that I referenced earlier. And she is building into their product, not only offshored with really high quality designers and editors, but she is building into their product lots and lots of use of AI. So I basically don't have a meeting about this anymore without her, so that it can actually be built into the process that then gets leveraged on my team and then across any of the other BTS's clients. That's great too if they can use it for others, because I know other people are using them. So if you look at that, excuse me, it's btsstudio.co, btsstudio.co. I'll try to link it in the show notes here, okay? Or maybe I'll even have my editor right now put btsstudio.co on the screen right here. You can go check it out, okay? So like they're doing all of those things all the time. And listen, the point of all of this that I'm saying, forget any individual version of it, because I could go on and on and on. Like it's like the thing I talk about constantly with my clients and with my team all the time right now is like, no matter where this whole world goes, again, the cost of production is going to keep going down, whether AI is just a tool in the tool belt of all of this, or whether it is like fully a magic ad maker or something like that. Like whatever version of that you go on, the same thing is true, which is that the production costs are going down. And that means now the limiter for the cost limiter for ad creation is actually moving away from production to distribution. Okay. And so that's the key point. The key point is any cost limitation you have is now not going to be on the production side. It's going to be so cheap to make so many ads. It already is getting so much cheaper to make so many ads. It already is. It's been that way for me before I used a lick of AI. It was already cheap to make a lot of ads. Okay. Now the cost though is on the distribution side. And the problem is if you have to run all of those ads through creative testing machines, man, you are going to be in big time trouble, because now you're going to take this very, very low cost on production, but then add a ton of cost on distribution, and it will simply not be viable. And the thing is, of course, you don't actually have to do that. And this is the reason why, like organizationally, it matters so much that you get your media buying right. This is the reason why I don't shut up about these things, because the media buying is not an isolated thing with like its own little small optimization thing. First of all, it's the actual distribution of probably one of the largest two line items in your business. The largest line items in basically every D2C business are COGS and ad spend, particularly meta ad spend. Okay, and so you should care about the efficient distribution of those dollars, because just like you would with your COGS, right? Just like you want to get your COGS down, and you should be efforting that all the time. Okay, but like. And think about your terms and MOQs, all the things that make your supply chain more efficient. So when you do those things, okay, at the same time, you should manage your media spend well. But it's not just about the optimization of that media spend. It's actually about the way that everything you do around that in your business, before and after and above and below that media spend, right? All of those things work into the media spend. And so the whole organizational movement moves towards something about the way you distribute the dollars. And this is only going to continue to be more true if you have other channels as well, where you're going to distribute the dollars, where you may be able to extend it to AppLovin or YouTube Shorts or whatever it is. Okay. So being able to distribute those things well is so crucial, because the whole thing is really, really connected. And as I've said before, there is an alternative to creative testing campaigns, okay? You don't have to spend your money, and I want you to understand why. It's really crucial. You don't have to go spend a bunch of money testing. The whole idea of running ads to StatSig to get some amount of purchases lined up to figure out whether or not your ads are working or not has so many giant problems with it that again, I don't want to belabor all of them, but there's one really, really crucial one, okay? Which is that you actually are almost certainly not getting StatSig on those ads. Your ads are actually, the way you would get stat sig is by comparing two groups of people, holding them out from one another, right? You would have a test group. This would be called a randomized controlled trial. You would split two groups, an A group and a B group, a control and a variant, and they would not interact with one another. They would be two separate things. But that is not how anybody sets up their creative testing campaigns in meta ads. They don't actually run them through meta split tests or anything like that. What they do is they just run them side by side. So it's very possible one group is remarketing the other or whatever it is, and you can't see any of that kind of stuff. Like, the thing is, meta ads is not set up as an RCT machine. That is not how it delivers ads at scale in the auction. And on top of that, even if it was, there would be human error at every part of this. And I see this all the time. People over or under interpreting, especially over interpreting small samples of data. So people get like 3 purchases on an ad and like, oh, it's a winner. I know it. Go put it in a scale campaign. And it's like 3 purchases doesn't tell you anything at all. And in fact, that ad may not work at all. And the opposite is also true. People will go like, ooh, that ad spent $500 and only got 1 purchase. That means it's not a winner. But that just means nothing. It means literally nothing. And so people will turn off that ad, and they may well be turning off winners. So it's the scaling of losers and the turning off of winners. Both are really big problems in the way you do that. And it's because the machine's not built for that. And that's what I want you to understand. What I want you to understand is the machine is built on Bayesian logic. The idea is Meta has access to endless reams of gigantic amounts of data, endlessly, has access to all of this data. And so it can forecast out from what happens at the level of a few hundred, a few thousand impressions, something like that, very, very low amounts of spend, okay? It can then analyze what users are doing with your creative, if you're getting thumb stop, if they're engaging with the content for very long, and it can take that and probabilistically forecast, which is how all good forecasting works, what is going to happen if it spends more on that ad, okay? And it will either shut down your spend based on that or not. And therefore, your ad testing budget can get extremely low, because for all of these ads that you launch, yes, it needs to spend a couple dollars. Ads maybe need to spend, the distribution costs are not zero, but they're really close to zero. They can spend a few dollars and not spend any more money in most cases, unless the ad is very, very likely to work. Now, probabilistic forecasting is probabilistic. If it has an 80% likelihood of success, or if your ad has an 80% likelihood of success, and maybe Meta puts more spend behind it, doesn't show you this information, but if it does that, then at a very small sample, then maybe it will spend more. Well, it may be actually the 20% side that is not successful. And so your ad may not be a winner. And so you maybe spend $100 on an ad that doesn't work out very well, right? That said, it's going to spend a lot less than if you did it yourself. And it will also read that for you and stop spending because of that information. And that is crucial also. All of the ads that I am launching in the way that I just told you I am launching it are being tracked. The customer behavior are being tracked on my websites, on my clients' websites with BILY, BILY.ai. BILY.ai is the best tracking software of which I'm aware, is the best pixel setup software of which I am aware in e-commerce. It is really, really great software because it gets the best event match quality score that I have ever seen in my meta ads dashboard. And so here's the way I've tested BILY multiple times with multiple clients. And the reason that my clients use BILY is that I have set up tests where I take the native Shopify pixel integration, or even sometimes other third-party pixels, and I take the same ads and I put those in campaign A, and then I take campaign B and I take BILY ads and I do the tracking with BILY, and I run the two side by side, and BILY has outperformed every other pixel tracking setup that I've seen every time. Whether that's because it's reporting more accurately or actually generating more purchases, I neither know nor care, because what I actually care about is getting the most information possible back over to Meta from my website, from my customers. That's what I use BILY for. I also validated that objectively by reading the event match quality scores across all of my website events over and over in Facebook Ads Events Manager. It is simply the most robust tracking software of which I'm aware, and magically, beautifully, it is also incredibly fast and easy to install. You can even take it and sort of have it overtake your old pixel, so that all the information you have stored in that pixel from before doesn't go away. It just goes right into BILY, and you upgrade your tracking going forward. So you don't have to start fresh or anything like that, okay? BILY can also be a one-stop shop replacement for Google Tag Manager, so you can use this for like a couple click install without any developers on Google Ads, Google Analytics, GA4 setup, which is a huge pain, of course, and every other ad tracking every other ad platform that you are tracking ads on, BILY can do the install for all of it. So the point is, if you're still tracking your ads with Meta ads or with the Shopify native integration with Meta, it's time to upgrade to BILY, get the best information possible sent back to Meta. BILY, BILY.ai. It will learn that information in real time, and it will either continue to spend your money or not. Now, if you're wondering if this even works, the thing I can tell you is yes. This is how we have been running ad accounts at AGF Growth for a long time, and I get DMs all the time from other people who do the same thing. It is incredibly frustrating for lots of people to make ads that seem to get very little spend and don't work. And I know sometimes they even get only a couple cents of spend. And I'm not going to sit here and say that's definitely the machine working correctly, but I think on the aggregate, and this is the key point, on the aggregate, that's the outlier. On the aggregate, it actually is spending some amount of money on most of your ads. Even a few dollars is telling it a lot. And that is all it needs to do, because a few dollars is much less than $500 to test an ad or whatever, especially when you multiply the ad volume like this. And Meta will scale winners, and it will suppress losers. It will do it. And I know that because I'm watching it happen with my clients all the time. We launch new ads. The good ones spend, the bad ones don't. If you listen to my episode recently with Jess Bachman, Jess has a really different approach than I do. I think it's from the last couple of weeks. It's about why his ads are performing better than mine on average. Now, Jess, he doesn't do the high volume thing that I do, and I think that's great. I think Jess has a unique skill set in generating creative that works at scale. So he's got a really different approach. Now, it's expensive, by the way. He charges a lot more money per ad than I do, like a lot more, way, not even close, not even in the ballpark. That's okay. It can work. Like I think Jess's approach can work. Okay. But the thing to know is that in the account that Jess and I talked about on that episode, where we are both working together, and on the next account that we are going to work together on, we are not tilting the machine in favor of Jess's ads. His ads have to perform at the same level as all the other ads do, but they get launched in campaigns with bid caps and with TROAS targets, just like all of my ads do. And when they perform, they spend, and when they don't, they don't. Until, as we looked at it afterwards, his ads were getting to 30% of the total budget in the ad account. He was getting a really meaningful spend total. I look at that and I say, like, that is all the evidence you need that the thing works. Like, it is reading his ads, it's spending on them, and it's scaling the winners and suppressing the losers. And it's doing that dynamically in time if an ad fatigues or whatever it is. It's doing all of that for us in the background. And it allows Jess to go in there, make ads, and we can do that. It allows me at the same time to go make a whole bunch of ads and see what's going to work and see what's not going to work. The point in all of this, and again, I'm not going to rehash the entire creative testing setup. The point is, the very simple version is, launch your ads with your manual bids. The real point that I want to make today is that it will simply not be viable. You will get left behind very soon if you test your ads any other way. It will not work. You won't be able to do it. That's the point that I'm saying, because you will be able to produce so many ads so fast that it will not be financially viable for your brand to test them, to actually allocate additional testing dollars to each one. That's the point. And so you must switch to this, right? Unless you are Jess Bachman and you can make 5 ads that hit at this incredible rate every time, and you need testing budget towards that. But even for him, it works in my system too, right? So I still think it's an under optimized way to do it, right? Basically, almost everybody, and frankly, I think Jess should create more iterations faster of the stuff he's doing with more AI. So the point is, it is not going to be viable to work that way at all anymore. To work by sending specific ads to specific creative testing campaigns. It's just not going to be viable. You're going to get left behind. You have to switch to this. Otherwise, you simply won't be able to compete in the rest of the world of ads because it will be too expensive to do it. And that should be a good thing. You should be excited about that, because what I am really telling you is there is all of this wasted money in your ad account based on that you are spending on creative testing that is actually a giant drain on your finances. And it's actually not only is it not helping you, it's actually hurting you. And when you get rid of that, you will not only be able to move forward and embrace new ways to produce a whole bunch of ads and level up your ad production and your ad creative output. Okay. But you'll also be able to do that while spending a lot less money on wasted dollars in the process. And that is a giant win for you. Go figure out where these tools fit into your ad creative mix. Go figure out all those things. launch your ads with your manual bids, just like you launch any other ads. Every campaign is a scaling campaign, and see what happens to the total efficiency of your business when you do. All right, if you like this episode, you're going to like a lot of my content, getting into the weeds of media buying and then sometimes pulling out as well into larger e-commerce business principles to help you think about every level of your business, from the detailed tactics up to the big picture strategy and organizational design and P&L design. It's going to generate a profitable e-commerce business. It's a mix, of course, of me solo. Also got some interviews all the time, including a bunch of really good ones coming up. Just go check my last couple interviews. They're great. My Jeremiah Primer conversation was awesome. Like, that was actionable for me in a bunch of ways. My Jess Bachman conversation was awesome. There's a lot of good stuff coming. So subscribe, make sure you don't miss it. You should also subscribe to my newsletter. I'm just sending a very simple weekly, like very tactical newsletter at this point. It's not very long. Once a week. I'm not going to spam you. Go to ajfgrowth.com, drop your email address either in the footer or in the pop-up that shows up there. You'll get onto my newsletter. I think it's going to really help you, and you're going to really like that a lot. You also get my 4 free essential e-commerce resources there, including like a cohort forecasting guide, my weekly ad account performance doc that I use to track ads every week with my clients. Really helpful stuff, I think, that will help you a lot. So go sign up for that there. Thanks so much for watching or listening. I will talk to you next time.